Welcome in, everyone, to this edition of Trent Talks, and we're going to have a lot of fun this afternoon. We are talking to Dr. James Bardoner of Doctors Hospital. Doctor, welcome in. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
One of the subjects we're going to delve into today is why it's so difficult to get men to the doctor. This is also part of No Shave November, as many of us are not shaving, as we're trying to basically, whatever we would spend on shaving products and razors, we're going to donate to No Shave November, a number of great cancer groups as far as research and whatnot. But also, part of that process, Dr. Bardoner, thank you for being here again, is getting men to the doctor. Why is it so difficult to get them there? You know, you've seen it, some of the guys out there, unless they have blood pouring from their bodies or it's a compound fracture or their wife or girlfriend are dragging them in, they're not going to go in.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it, guys are pretty reasonable, but I think people just get busy these days. There's so much stuff going on. And I feel like every second of my day sometimes has been planned for the prior 2 weeks. It can be hard just to take time out, set aside the time, and especially if you feel like everything's okay, it's like, surely I'd have some kind of a sign. Like I would know if something was going on, is what I think a lot of people feel.
Right.
Whether it's right or wrong, I think a lot of people are just like, I've got stuff to do. I feel like everything's okay. I'm going to keep on rolling.
Yeah.
And so it can be really easy to kind of lose sight of, it doesn't take that long. And if you can set aside the time for it, then you don't have to sweat it again. If you're doing colonoscopies, that's once every 10 years.
Right.
So that's really easy and doable. The other option, and we'll talk more about this in a minute if you want, but there's also options for it's called Cologuard, but it's a test
Sure.
Everyone poops.
At home.
All you do is poop in the box.
Oh, wow.
It's not like you're not pooping and have to do something special.
Yeah.
Like, I got to understand if it's like a big burden, but that comes to your house, they mail it to you. You just poop in the box and mail it back. And, it doesn't take any kind of special education to do that test. It's highly accurate for catching cancer. It's not quite as good for catching polyps before they turn into cancer.
Right.
But if it's a choice of, I'm either going to do nothing or do this test, like it's a good test. It works well. I've got no problem recommending Cologuard for people, especially if you're busy and just don't want to.
That's a great option.
Yeah.
As far as, like you said, people who get extremely busy and they have multiple excuses for why they can't go in and do a colonoscopy. And that sets me up perfectly for the next question about the importance of early detection. We all know someone in our life who's been affected by cancer, and I was telling you about a friend I used to work with in another media market who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer at 29 years old. Obviously, that's an extreme case, but for the general male, I would just imagine with colonoscopies and also your PSA test for prostate cancer, getting in just with the yearly physical alone, I think is just so crucial.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there's also another saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if you can prevent something from ever becoming a problem in the first place, that's a good thing.
Right.
So, especially for colon cancer, it's about 1 in 10 somewhere. Conservative estimates say 5%. Some people say up to 10% of the U.S. population is going to have colon cancer at some point.
At some point.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't know who that's going to be. The only way we're going to catch it early is if we're testing people who don't have symptoms, basically, to try to get it when it's small.
Right.
Because especially for those polyps, they usually don't cause any symptoms whatsoever. Basically these things start as almost like little zits or bumps inside the colon usually that grow over time. A lot of people think I'd either have pain or I'd have some kind of bleeding or there'd be something to let me know that something's going on. And it's true, you will eventually probably get to that point. But by the time you do, you're likely to have stage 3 colon cancer. We don't normally see symptoms with the earlier stages where, stage 1, stage 2, we can treat that either by taking it out during a colonoscopy or taking it out with surgery, and you might not even need chemotherapy afterwards. By the time it gets to stage 3, that's when you're talking about chemotherapy.
Right. And
then stage 4, you're talking about, well, we can't cure it, but we can slow it down and get you good time.
Right.
So
how often do you see polyps? Because for those watching, you are a surgeon at Doctors Hospital. How often do you normally see polyps when you're doing colonoscopies?
There's something called an adenoma detection rate, and there's an idea of quality measures. And basically, if you're screening somebody who's got no symptoms and has never had a colonoscopy before, the last time I reviewed that, it was saying that you should have at least 20% polyp detection rate, basically. That we think that's the estimate
Yeah.
in the U.S. population. Now, don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
I didn't research it before coming in here, but that's what last time I looked at it. That's where it was. So you think about 1 in 5. It's very likely at some point you're going to have polyps in your life.
Right.
Whether that progresses to cancer or not can be affected by a lot of other things. But again, the idea is if you get it when it's a polyp and get it out, then you don't even have to worry about it becoming a cancer and deal with all that crap that comes afterwards.
Right. Good analogy there, that last word. with what we're talking about. But as far as early detection, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, but reading some of the latest stats with cancers like testicular cancer, of course, skin cancer, and also prostate cancer, early detection, and it seems like in most of these cases, if you catch it early, the survival, the cure rate is close to 100%.
Yeah. So again, like I said, they start as small little polyps. You get those out, you never even have to worry about cancer as long as your colon's clear. If they progress, you're looking at much more involved therapy. We are starting to see it earlier in younger ages. So we used to say everybody needs to start at age 50 for colon cancer.
Right.
And then we realized that there are certain populations where we were seeing it earlier than that. And now we're to the point where we've dropped the age from 50 down to 45 just because we are starting to see it younger and younger.
What if you have a family history? Does that bump things up?
If family history bumps it up again. So if they had it after age 60, we're not going to change a whole lot. We're just going to screen you a little more frequently, but we'd still start at age 45 and then screen every 5 years. I say screen, but if you have a family history, that means specifically colonoscopy. That's the recommendation for screening anyone who's got a family history.
Right.
And that's direct blood relatives, mom, dad, sisters, things like that. If it's after age 60, we just screen a little more frequently. If they were diagnosed earlier than that, then we would start your screening 10 years earlier than whenever they were diagnosed.
I see.
You get someone at 50 diagnosed, you start at 40.
Makes sense. The earlier the better, just as far as safety goes. And if you've never done the colonoscopy, the prep is not a lot of fun, but I don't know, they've made advances in that as well.
Yeah. Prep science.
Essentially, it's cleaning you out. It's effective plumbing to get you ready for the test. But the procedure itself is quick. Yeah. It's painless. You're out, and I joke it's the best sleep you probably ever get.
Oh yeah, that magic milk propofol drug. You sleep well. Yeah.
Now, as far as prostate cancer, is that something that normally would be detected through blood tests or through a yearly physical?
Yeah, so certain people, if you have to have certain types of physicals, you might be getting a rectal exam, but that's not the routine screening.
Sure.
I think a lot of guys are like, I don't want anyone to do a rectal exam to check me for prostate cancer.
No.
But the main way we screen for that is actually a blood draw. It's called a PSA, or prostate-specific antigen level. We start that at age 50.
And you have a certain level that they find, and then there are certain levels you don't want to be above.
Right. Yeah. So we just check the number. If we see that it's going up, then that would lead to potentially a biopsy of the prostate to see what's going on.
All right. But I wanted to also focus on, and you said you talk about this a lot, as far as health with men, but not only fitness, but the importance of diet in cancer prevention. Not just, people think about diet, well, I'm just trying to, cut weight or to look good, to look fit, and combine that with whatever exercise I can do during my busy schedule. But how does that relate to cancer prevention?
So we've got bacteria inside our guts, all of us.
Sure.
They play a very important role in digestion and health. And the idea is if you give them good things and healthy things for them to digest and break down, then you tend to have good, healthy bacterial populations that are not going to then start attacking your body and the lining of your colon, because that repeated stress and damage over time can lead to any cell system, if it's multiplying rapidly and having to replace itself because of attack or damage, inflammation, whatever. Sometimes mistakes are made when they're multiplying, and that's generally how cancers come, is a mistake in the replication process. And so those cells that made the mistake, they just keep growing and multiplying and don't listen to the body's signals to quit it and stop. So, what's been shown is kind of basic stuff that you would think of, but people don't realize how important it is. So drinking lots of water, like pure water, is good for your body.
Fantastic.
Raw leafy green vegetables, they're good for your body. Whole grain fibers, exercise has actually been shown to decrease your risk of cancer as long as you're exercising about 30 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week. You don't have to be out there killing it. You don't have to be a bodybuilder, but spending time exercising decreases your risk of cancer.
Sure.
And then there's all kinds of bad things you can put in there. And I kind of joke with guys. It's like, man, if you ever smell your gas and just know how awful it smells, you got to believe that there's something not good happening.
There's a
there
reason
that leads to that.
It smells that way.
Yeah. So if you're eating a lot of like meats that have nitrites, preservatives in them, so beef jerky, things like that, especially, I like Slim Jim, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll snap into
What
Slim
about
Jim,
red meat versus chicken?
Yeah, red meat has been shown to be a risk factor. So smoked meats, red meats, anything with preservatives or nitrites, basically if you're not getting it from the butcher.
So those who love barbecue, go for the chicken?
Barbecue, well again, if you're smoking it, it's still not that good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But if it's baked.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Fried foods, fatty foods,
Yeah.
really sweet, sugary foods. And then
Sure.
some of these, even these zero-calorie sweetener substitutes have been shown to also increase your risk. And then there's also alcohol, which is a really big one these days because
Right.
even more than 2 drinks a day for a guy can increase your risk of colon cancer, or 1 drink a day for women.
Right. Because, you see in almost every news report, we'll do stories about red wine. It's great for you. And then at the end, it's always in moderation. Because they'll take out the element in the wine that's beneficial, but they don't hammer home the point that you can't be drinking a bottle a day and have the same
well,
amount
even
of
that
benefits.
gets controversial because they said there's benefit for the heart of women if they have 1 glass of red wine a day.
So it's just women.
It's mostly women where the benefit's going to be seen.
Okay.
And I've seen a couple of other studies that say, yes, they acknowledge, there is a benefit there, but actually the risk of cancer offsets any cardiac benefit. So you're more likely to get cancer from drinking that than you are to help your heart. I tell everyone there's a lot of stuff in the world basically that's going to increase your risk for something bad.
Right.
As long as you're trying to live healthy, moderation.
Yeah.
But exercise, healthy diet, don't overdo it with any kind of whether it's sweet food or alcohol or whatever.
Common sense.
Common sense.
Common sense. We know what's good for us, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you'd like to share with our audience in this month of November, No Shave November? Of course, we're trying to raise money for cancer research and prevention, but also get the gentleman out there watching to be more proactive and not have to be dragged there by your significant other.
Yeah.
We know it's good for us, but I think a lot of guys often are like, well, I don't want to go in because they always find something. But wouldn't it be better to find something early than to find it too late?
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like you're going to the auto dealership and you just know they're going to find something there. Like, this is routine health. I don't particularly enjoy colonoscopies, even though I do them. I would rather not have to.
It's not something,
it's like I'm just trying to do it for fun.
Right. What are you doing on vacation? I'm getting my colonoscopy. Yeah. I mean, it's not that.
Yeah. So if your average risk, Cologuard or colonoscopy, if you have a family history or if you've ever had a polyp, then you need to have the colonoscopy. And again, it's quick and easy. Ideally, it's 1 in every 10. If you do have a lot of polyps, we might shorten that interval down, but it's doable. It's something we can do.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you so much. I know you're very busy saving the world over at Doctor's Hospital. Dr. James Bardoner, thank you for your wisdom and your insight, and thanks for coming in to Fox 54.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet.